Okay, introduction number 83. So, two-part question. Nowadays, the way many people interact with each other has changed. Technology, two questions. In what ways has it affected the types of relationships? And is this a good thing or a bad thing? So now, I've noticed some people, your paraphrasing needs to be a little bit more precise. You need to focus on analysing the question a little bit more. So how has it affected the types of relationships? Not many of you have mentioned this, but anyway. What can we do in paraphrase? Well, currently, in today's world, technological advancements, new developments has changed, had an impact. There's quite a few ways you can paraphrase that. The types of relationship, business and education, is a positive, yes. I've got a couple of introductions here, so I don't have to read them out. You can see them. So, paraphrase the topic. What type of relationships, business and education, and is it good or bad? Yes. Now, I wrote this one, nice and short, to the point. The relationships more immediate and shallower, so it's a type of relationship which in my view is certainly a retrograde step, in other words, a negative. So, recently the prevalence of technology had a profound impact on the methods of relations between individuals. Now, you don't really need to do this. This essay will do, this essay will argue this. You can do, but there's no real need. I mean, just look at mine. You simply answer the question. You don't have to keep, this essay will do this, this will do that. So okay, we've got sentence one. Okay, technology, but this hasn't really answered the first question, which again we'll just refer to. In what ways has it affected the types of relationships that people make? So, facilitate, but what's that got to do with relationships? It doesn't say anything about it. Question two sits on the fence a little. We'd have to see the rest of the essay to see how that works out. I would always go, either yes or no. I think it's easier. So sentence two doesn't really answer the question, though. It's about the relationships, and this is just talking about storing data. So I'm not quite sure what that means. Now, modern, contemporary, we don't need them both. It's basically the same. Shifted interpersonal interactions. Now, right. Merits of fluctuated behaviours. I have no idea what that means. Merits of fluctuated. Now, I understand what the individual words mean, but used in this combination and collocation, I have no idea. It's not clear at all. So, outnumber the disadvantages. It doesn't ask about that. Right. It says, how has it affected the types of relationships? And you haven't really said how. But it's not advantages or disadvantages. Sentence three does answer the question, though. So that's not very clear at all there, so not so good. Okay, Arsalan, that one's good. That one's good. Don't have to say anything. You can read it. That one's pretty good. This one's not bad. We don't really need the adverb at the end. Impact on social life profoundly. For one thing, it's not modifying a verb. So impact, but that's acting as a noun, so we don't really use that. You can put it as an adjective, and it has a profound instead of major, which is basically what it's saying. So instead of using it as an adverb without a verb, change it to an adjective, and it has a profound impact on social life. The advancement, definite article. The advantages. And it doesn't ask about advantages or disadvantages or drawbacks. It says, is it a positive or a negative step? So I suppose this kind of means yes, it is. A double-edged sword, I wouldn't really use that. I would try to avoid using those kind of idioms in an essay. Merging technology when they include changes, okay. Now, use will instead of going to. This essay will argue how high-tech impacts on the community connection of people. Why this phenomenon is desirable. Well, it hasn't really said what that impact is. So, apparently, I would take it that you think it's a good thing. But you haven't really said what the impact on the types of relationships are. So, ability to compute data has changed. Explicate, you mean explain. The high-tech has impacted in interactions. That doesn't really, that's not very clear, it's a little bit vague, I mean. So, what are the impacts? And it's desirable. Presumably you think it's a good thing, but you haven't really. It's a little thin on explanation. Nowadays, now this one's a little bit long. It's a little bit long. Technological developments revolutionise the way we socialise. Okay. Significant meetings, impacts. So a lot of this you can put in your body paragraph. We use it. I mean, this is basically almost an example. So that's a little bit long. A little bit long. I mean, look, you don't actually need it. You can just do it in a couple of sentences, and that will be fine. Okay, the advance. Okay, thanks. Okay, right. The advance of technology, communication, there's positive impact, reflected visual media. Okay, this isn't bad. Isn't bad. Short to the point. Let me say a little bit more about what that virtual meetings, but how exactly is that impacted? So it's not too bad, but I would maybe explain it a little bit more. Modify dramatically. Alteration should be improved and affected. Now, okay, but how exactly? What are the types? Are you talking about a business relationship, a personal one? The question does specifically say the types of relationship. Technological advancements, okay, alright, so we need to preposition, article, and change that verb form, okay? To interact with. This is an, because change is countable, an advantageous change. We don't need the commas. We can have it as a subordinate, a clause. For in the, or maintaining, old one, so make sure our verbs are balanced. Developing or maintaining is impossible without technology. In the modern world, people's interaction being profoundly influenced. This essay will look at how, okay, this is good. You don't really need to say this essay will look, you could simply do it as my example. Virtual social networks have transformed the way in which a person in society interacts. But again, what's the nature? What's the type of relationship? And then you've answered the second question. These changes are promising and positive. Okay, so not too bad, not too bad. Just make sure that you paraphrase, don't add anything, omit anything. And again, make sure you analyse the questions. It was specifically asking what types. So it was specifically said, how has it affected the types of relationships that people make? So if you think about, internet friends versus real friends versus meeting in person or in business, etc. So what particular types? Okay, that's really what you need to focus on there. So not too bad, not too bad. We'll have another task posted in a bit, so we'll see you then.